Everyone was clapping, cheering, taking selfies, a sea of caps and gowns swayed in celebration. But in the middle of it all, standing silently behind the gymnasium bleachers with tears brimming in her eyes, was the new girl, clutching the torn remnants of her graduation dress. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Just 3 months ago, 17-year-old Alina moved to this new town with her mother, after her dad passed away in a tragic accident. They left behind everything: her childhood home, her school, her friends, her memories. Starting over in a new high school during senior year was hard enough. But being shy, quiet, and different only made it worse. Alina never expected to be welcomed with open arms, but she didn't think she'd be targeted either. It started with small things: sneers in the hallway, books knocked out of her hands, her name whispered like a joke. But the real storm came in the form of 3 girls. Kylie, the queen bee of the senior class, her sidekicks Marnie and Jess. They were everything Alina wasn't: loud, confident, and merciless. "You're too weird to hang with us," Kylie had once said, tossing Alina's sketchbook into the school fountain. She laughed like it was a punchline, while Alina stared at her water-drenched drawings of her dad, the only way she knew how to keep his memory close. Alina tried to keep her head down. Her mother worked double shifts to afford the rent and a few new clothes. Alina had one dress, a long, flowing pale blue piece that once belonged to her mom. It wasn't designer, it wasn't trendy, but it made her feel beautiful. Graduation was supposed to be her fresh start. She had worked hard. Straight A's. Scholarships waiting. She even dared to hope, maybe after today, everything would finally be okay. But the bullies weren't done with her yet. As the students lined up for the final walk, Kylie spotted her. "Wow, is that your grandma's nightgown?" she sneered. Alina looked down, nervously smoothing the dress. "It was my mom's," she said quietly. "Even worse," Marnie chimed in. "Let's give it a makeover." Before she could move, they surrounded her. Laughing. Tugging. Pulling. Ripping. In seconds, her dress was shredded, the fabric fluttering like torn wings around her knees. Alina gasped, clutching at the seams, her heart pounding like a drum. Her vision blurred as the laughter echoed louder than the applause from the ceremony nearby. She ran. She didn't know where, her feet just moved. Behind the bleachers, she collapsed to the ground, trying to hold the pieces together. Her throat burned from holding back the sobs. Why? Why couldn't they just leave her alone? Then, she heard a voice. "Are you okay?" It was Ray, one of the quiet kids from her calculus class. He wasn't popular, but he was kind. He had always nodded at her in the hallways. Now, he crouched beside her, offering his jacket. "I saw what they did," he said gently. "They're sick." Alina couldn't speak. She wasn't going to end her high school story like this. She turned to Ray. "Can you help me find the drama teacher?" Together, they rushed backstage to the theater department. Miss Clark, the drama teacher, listened in shock. "Take whatever you need," she said, guiding Alina to the costume racks. Minutes later, Alina emerged in a sleek, black dress that shimmered under the lights, a forgotten costume from the school's winter play. She adjusted the straps, took a deep breath, and walked back into the ceremony. But she didn't head to her seat. She walked straight up to the stage. The principal had just finished announcing the scholarships when he noticed her and paused. The entire room turned toward her, confused murmurs rising. "I need to say something," Alina said, stepping up to the microphone. The principal hesitated, then nodded. Alina's voice trembled, but she stood tall. 3 months ago, I came here feeling like a ghost. I thought if I stayed quiet, I'd survive. But today, some of you tore my dress. You tried to tear my spirit too. But I'm still standing." A stunned silence filled the gym. "You thought I wouldn't fight back. But this," she gestured to the costume, "this isn't defeat. This is rebirth." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the students. Kylie and her crew sat frozen, their smug expressions wiped clean. "And one more thing," Alina said, her eyes locking on Kylie. "You don't get to decide who belongs. I do. We all do." She stepped back as applause broke out, first a few claps, then dozens, then the entire senior class stood, cheering. But it wasn't over. Later that evening, the class threw a post-grad party at the lake. Alina almost didn't go, until Ray convinced her. "You've earned this." She arrived to whispers and stares. People came up to her, strangers, to say how brave she was, how they wished they'd spoken up sooner. Even some of Kylie's usual admirers turned their backs on the bullies. Kylie, furious and humiliated, tried to push her way back into control. "You think one speech makes you popular?" Alina turned calmly. "No. But it made me free." Kylie snarled. "Watch your mouth." And then, with a sudden burst of reflex from the self-defense classes her mom had made her take, Alina stepped aside as Kylie lunged and delivered a swift kick to her shin. Kylie crumpled, groaning in pain, clutching her leg. Jess and Marnie looked horrified. "Don't touch me again," Alina said, her voice ice-cold. From the ground, Kylie muttered, okay, just stop." She wasn't the one begging for attention anymore. That night, under the stars, Alina stood on the edge of the dock, Ray beside her. "You really did it," he said with awe. "No," Alina smiled. "I finally started living." Message. This story isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming power, standing tall when the world tries to shrink you, and realizing your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. You are stronger than the